Good, man. So the Penguin, so last week Grant had wrapped it up. Like he was like week to week on it. I was way behind. So between in the last 2 weeks, I think I've watched 7 episodes,
Hmm.
which is crazy for me because I have a hard time binging things in adult
Sure.
life. So I'd like to take a moment and congratulate myself on that. That is a dark binge. I'll tell you that
Mm.
shit.
That's heavy.
It's incredibly heavy. So let's get into it. I think we can lift the spoiler ban. Here's your spoiler warning. It's been out a couple weeks. They're doing all these interviews about what happened and this and that. So yeah, I mean, I think that's probably as good as a superhero or DC property
Hmm.
show gets. I mean, Peacemaker was amazing, but
I was
this
gonna
put
say apples and oranges, but like I think both succeeded in their mission statements, you know?
Yeah, and we touched on this a little bit last week, man, or last episode. Like there is a truly great irony that DC just couldn't make one good movie to save their lives until, there's a couple exceptions here and there. But especially when you were comparing them to like this major box office war between them and the MCU. And like I don't want to say no, it feels pretty resounding. It feels like most Marvel shows, no one is particularly over the moon about.
No,
Like
no.
it just seems, like they made fun of it in Deadpool 3. Like it's just been miss after miss. And here comes DC just annihilating the medium. I can't believe how good this was. At times it felt a little long, but then in the by the time we wrapped up, I
That
was
could have
like,
been a
nah.
byproduct of the binge, though. Maybe.
Yeah, but what I
I
was gonna
felt
say
it.
is
Yeah.
by the time I ended, I was like, nah, that was probably the right amount of time.
Mm.
Maybe there's a bit of fat here and there that you could have trimmed, but probably not. Some episodes were shorter than others.
One or two like glaring weak characters, but like maybe just one for me personally, but like just like what
Who?
I'm the Sophia's like doctor there.
Oh
Very,
yeah,
very
yeah.
like,
Julian?
teased, yeah, teased, set up, played
Yeah,
around with a bit, and then was just completely discarded. And I was like, what got cut out here? It felt very like
yeah.
edited out. I know everyone's like, there's all the Easter eggs, and people are kind of going nuts over who he might actually be and whatnot.
Haven't touched any spoiler discussions of any kind.
Good Easter eggs in his office.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Scarecrow, it feels like
Scarecrow. Yeah,
hypnotism. Yeah,
yeah,
that feels
yeah.
not crazy. I wonder. I mean, they bring him in for a movie for the Batman 2 thing. Like maybe not as a main villain, but as a
Maybe. Well, the name, like the name is wrong. Not that that's everything, but like. Um,
Oh, right, because the Scarecrow obviously has a real name, and he's
yeah,
not
yeah,
Julian.
yeah,
But he is a doctor, though, right? Wasn't he a doctor in the?
yeah. He was like the head. I think it's something Crane. He's like the head of the Arkham for a period,
Oh, so
like
he did.
majority
So
of the
that
time.
part is.
Yeah, like he's associated in Arkham and whatnot. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I found this to be like a in a
You didn't
very
love it.
standout cast, like the biggest weak link. He also like too like I have he was in Sons of Anarchy. And
Okay.
I have such a hard time like that was like it's literally the only other thing I've seen him in.
Is he a major character in that?
He was like he was in the main cast, like he's one of the guys, but he was like probably like B tier,
Hmm.
had like a couple lead storylines, but like wasn't like one of the guys.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it was just like I couldn't disassociate him from like his character in that, so it was just like super weird to see him like dressed up or in like a nice shirt and pants and like being like an
Right.
evil doctor. It was a little hard for me. Again, that's on me. It's not on the show, but
Um.
but Colin Farrell
Colin Farrell. I mean,
and Kristen Milotti, like
there's been a lot
unreal. The
of
two of them.
pretty high drama
Mm,
lately. Like I'm late on White Lotus and all this stuff, and I'm
mm,
curious to see what the because I'm late on everything, but I'm curious to see what the nominations look like for this
mm.
round of Emmys and who he'll be up against. But like, I mean, it seems like I'm not often bold with predictions on this stuff, but it feels like a pretty big no-brainer. Like he should
I think
absolutely
so.
be nominated, her as well.
Yeah.
The hair and makeup probably. But yeah, his performance was pretty unbelievable.
It was
Like,
I just thought it was so cool how both of them played such a different type of like intimidation,
yeah,
like just their presence on the screen. Like they were doing two completely different things, but both came with the exact same result. Like everyone in the room was more or less like, scared of them and all that. Like but it was again like it was different flavors of each kind of like being the boss or whatever, and I just to watch them and the two of them go back and forth like try the like you always like when you see like a show and it's like written in like they're playing like cat and mouse with each other, it doesn't like always like play like it doesn't always feel
Yeah,
like
yeah.
genuine the entire time of like her trying to figure him out and him lying through his teeth at like every opportunity. It was like it was like kind of like whoa, like is she gonna like call him on him this time, or like is he gonna get he always gets away because clearly by the end there, but he's a snake man. What a well-written version of this character.
Yeah, I mean, ultra modern take that like fits so perfectly into the Matt Reeves Batman
Mm,
mini universe, whatever, Elseworld, whatever the fuck they call it. Um, I will say a standout episode that I just didn't see coming, and I mean, well, really the whole of Sophia's arc.
sure.
Um, they do this, flashback of her in Arkham and essentially being framed for being the quote hangman and that whole thing. I didn't see that coming at all.
No.
I don't know what's accurate comic wise or whatever, but I did not see that coming. I thought they handled that beautifully, and I thought they handled her revenge against the family
Mm,
also super super well.
that's pretty crazy.
I
Her to like
did
put on the mask and going for a walk and like, oh, what is she doing with that mask?
awesome,
Like, yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
I also loved how her story wrapped up. I was
Mm,
like, oh yeah, he's gonna kill her for sure. And I was like,
mm,
wait, no, he's not. There's gonna be a twist, and then of course, what's like the cruelest possible thing you can do?
mm.
You
Send
send
her
her
right
right
back.
back. And it works out beautifully for him because he needed, he gets both ends, right? He
Hmm.
gets the street cred and the like monopoly on crime
Hmm.
in Gotham, and he gets someone to take the fall for it, and he gets a competing power out of his way
Yeah.
in one fell swoop. And, he makes a councilman look good. Now he's got favors in the city that he can call
Mhm.
in.
I
Kind of
hope,
the
yeah.
master stroke on his end. And I love that it was never perfect. Oz was never mastermind fucking Lex Luthor, right? He's
No.
stumbling, he's making so many fucking mistakes, he's killing
He's an
people.
opportunist. Like
Yeah.
he had a plan until something came up that was better, and he rolled with that, and just repeat, 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 like right to the end. But and you and I were talking about we went to a show last week, and I think we were talking about it for a hot second. But like, oh, cat, don't do it. All right. But like the mission statement of the show is like they're not like trying to redeem him in any way. They're not trying to make him like a Walter White type figure of like, is there like some redemption left in him? Like
Right.
they do a good job every single episode reminding you that he is a huge piece of shit and he is a monster of a person. And it's like at no point do you think is you're gonna become a good guy, cat? What are you doing there? But yeah, I don't know. I just and then they cap it off in the perfect way in the ending. Just with I guess we'll get into it, but the way he did Victor like that, I
I just I knew he was gonna kill that kid. I knew
what
he was gonna kill Victor from the jump, dude.
yeah,
Victor was just too endearing,
he was too
um,
innocent. He was just
too
a victim
innocent.
of everything.
You saw that kid grow up. You saw them form a real bond.
Mm.
His stutter, unbelievable portrayal by the actor.
Problem is like there wasn't a bond. Like he did a really good job of a one-sided
Yes,
like a
yes.
manipulation of a
But
friendship
if
or
you were,
relationship.
but if you were, you could. I think the writing and the acting was so good.
Mm,
I think the audience felt like they were in Victor's shoes a lot of the time. Like you mentioned a minute ago, the show never lets you forget that Oz is a piece of shit, right? He's a
hmm
criminal and he's a bad guy through and through,
hmm
for sure. But I think they did play with it a little bit. They did. There were moments where you're rooting for him to win, and
100%.
and
Yeah,
I'm
you
gonna
yeah.
overlook that you know, maybe people are gonna catch some bodies on the way, but it's like these are all bad people anyway.
Yep.
Until he's just killing innocent people. The mother. Oh God, the mother daughter or the mother son burning alive scene.
Oh yeah.
Jesus
Yeah,
Christ.
the Maronis, yeah.
The
Well,
Maronis.
I knew too. I remember like the moment like when he's um it was so funny, like as I'm watching like this really fucked up scene where he's like choking the life out of Victor, all I could think about was how more fucked up was it that when I think it's in the middle of the season where they're in the club and they're trying to sell the eye drops, and like Vince, kind of screws up and he comes back, and like Oz just like gaslights him into like bringing him back, and like that was the moment Victor died. That was the time when he came back, and like the whole like he was going to kill him on the spot, and then like kind
Yeah.
of but was like or made Victor think that way, but we all know he was going to keep because he needed him for this and that, like he needed a run boy or
Oh,
whatever. And it was just like it was crazy as I was watching that moment at the end. I was thinking back to like, oh, I think that was the scene where like he actually died. Like that was like his final death seal right there. But he just kept coming back. Like again, like took care of his mom. He did all this and that. Like found him below, got the operation going. You know,
the kid
yeah,
needed a friend, right? He needed
yeah,
a role model. He had
yeah.
nobody, and he fell into the lap of somebody that could offer him some guidance and some means.
Mm,
And I think a great like storytelling like sift or like tool you can use as a viewer sometimes when you're trying to evaluate how you feel about something is like, does it make sense?
mm,
And it does, right? Do Victor's actions make sense? Like, are
mm,
some of them wrong? Yes. Are some of them right? Yes. But like, do you understand why he made the choices? Like, does it
mm,
track? And
mm.
it totally tracks.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so goddamn sad. And I knew he was gonna die, and I was like, don't get
Mm,
attached to this fucking kid. And I did.
yeah.
And they got me, those bastards. And then, and by the end, like, let's talk about the ending. Like, he is like fully the Penguin. He's got his
Mm,
the mom stuff. I was in and out on. There were a couple moments where I was like, I don't know if this works, but man, like the ending, the third act of the mom
mm.
storyline, how it all ends up, get in the penthouse.
I'm surprised like there's no way he survived that gut stab too, like which is like pretty like again, like, I'm not like a physician or there, but like seems like a pretty critical place to get stabbed. When the mom stabs him in the chair, like
Yeah.
there's two back and forth, but like all the callbacks too of like the mom trying to have him killed off and like him
Ugh.
clearly killing his brothers, like
Oh
holy,
my God. Oh
like
my God, the brother scene.
yeah, yeah, and it goes back, and I think it was funny too. I saw like just like a screen grab a couple days ago of like in the first episode he makes a reference to like what kind of mutt like kills his brothers or something like that. He's like referring to someone else or whatever, and
Yeah.
it just goes to show like he's just just a piece of shit, great piece
Yeah.
of shit. I'm glad like
A lot
they're
of inner
not.
turmoil in there.
I hope they don't do like a second season. I hope they just like kind of keep, I think he's gonna have a bigger presence in the movies to come, I
Yeah.
think. But this was like just like a nice like we saw him get to, rank here to his new rank there. Like, I think
I
we're good with that.
I completely agree. I think like leave this alone.
Mm,
It's so good.
mm,
And he'll command a lot more respect on screen. Not that he wasn't, but he's like you said, he's leveled up if you bring
yeah.
him into Batman 2 in this current state. Maybe the last thing I'll note, because it was so damn disturbing, was I remember in penultimate, maybe episode 6 or 7,
Mm.
Sophia finds
Oh,
Oz's
Victor and his mom.
prostitute. No, it finds a
Oh,
prostitute.
yeah.
And we think Sophia's going to kill her. She ends up not.
Hmm.
But one of the questions she asks is, "What is he like?" You know what I mean? And because the prostitute has all these disguises and
Hmm.
wigs and get-ups and gear in her house, tools of the trade. And then Sophia says, "What is he like?" And then she just says, "He's not that complicated," you know?
Mm.
And then I took that to men in my like in the perverted moment that it was because that's what they were alluring to, right?
Sure.
Was the sex trade. And I was like, yeah, he's probably just a sure, he's a regular dude, whatever. But then the ending of the show is the prostitute is dressed up in the same or a very similar cocktail dress that
His
his
mom more.
mom wore the night they had their date. And he's saying, "Tell me you're proud of me." I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my God."
Yeah. So many
Um,
layers.
Pretty perfect, actually. Pretty despicable, pretty messed up. And of course, the zoom out and the bat signal in the air. They weren't kidding, dude. This show stood on its own. Like, anyway, the Penguin, man. I'm sorry I'm late. I was late, but I got there.
I don't know.
Uh,
2 weeks after your finale, I think that's a perfectly good window. I think you're good.
yeah. Um, you know what else I've binged in my ailing health
Mm.
over the last couple of days while I've been under the weather, and I'm not caught up yet, but I did binge and get